All right, guys, I'm not sure if we have anybody on yet. We're going to just wait a minute or two here and rock and roll. Hopefully you can all see the screen okay. We will start here in about 1 minute. So all right, guys, it is 4 o'clock sharp here. I see that we got a couple people on, which is great. It's good to see some people on here. This is something that we're just doing every week at this point. And this is obviously free, easy to get onto. Just things that we're trying to add value on a weekly basis where people can just kind of in a low pressure environment hop on and get the information that they need. Of course, my name is Zach Davis, and have a team here, Zach Davis Group, and been doing real estate for 10 years, helped quite a few people sell homes in the area over the last 10 years. And so this is kind of a culmination of obviously what we learned, and obviously different markets call for different types of things too. When we get in different markets, things change, especially with selling. And so, yeah, the goal today is to go over high ROI home improvement tips. Now, we're not talking about remodels today. We're not talking about going in, finishing the basement, or remodeling the entire kitchen or bathroom. Maybe a few areas of the kitchen, things like that. But we're not talking about, extreme remodels or anything like that in order to sell your home at top dollar. For the most part, especially in North Idaho, the majority of us just need to know which items do we focus on that don't cost us the most, don't cost us an arm and a leg, but have the highest return on investment for you. So one thing to keep in mind is if you were just to sell your home as is, no matter what the condition is, unless you just keep your home in tip-top shape all the time, if you were to sell it as is in Coeur d'Alene in North Idaho, on average, you may sell it for about 5 to 8, maybe even 10% less than what you could for just making simple and doing simple things. So the little things in Coeur d'Alene matter a lot. Not necessarily the big things. Those matter too, to an extent, but there's a certain return where it doesn't matter anymore. So again, keep that in mind as we're going through this. In North Idaho, if you do these things or some of these things, you could make between 5 to 10% more on your home by just getting it ready. Sorry, guys. Hold on 1 second. Make sure we're good here. Make sure we're good and everybody can see us here. So 1 second here. Make sure we don't have a technical error. Apologize if we do. One of my team members called, so just making sure oh, never mind. We were good. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So we got, again, home improvement tips, quick upgrades to maximize your value. Okay, so one of the first things here is just a fresh coat of neutral paint. I know that sounds really easy and simple and nothing special about that. But at the same time, just going through your home and either giving it a whole fresh new paint or a room or an area or a living room, When I sold my house recently, we focused on basically the rough, the transition areas coming inside the front door. The first impression areas like that, or the high traveled areas where there's a little bit more dirt, or where there's just a little bit more dings and dents from the years you've been in your home. Going through and paint, putting a fresh coat of paint on the door, maybe the trim around it, entryways, maybe hallways from the garage doors, not actual garage doors, but garage door entry, entry garage doors into your home. Those seem like really simple, non-sexy things, but that could really transform the space and give people a better impression flowing into the rest of the home. Now, do you need to go in and paint your entire house? I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but if you could have somebody come in, touch up the dings and dents, maybe some rooms that need a fresh paint, that might make it more inviting, areas that would really benefit from it. I would definitely recommend either doing it yourself or having somebody come in and do that. We did a lot of that for us when we just sold our home, in the high traveled areas, coming in from the garage, the hallways that we walked in all the time. Made sure that we touched up, certain areas of trim, the dings and dents just around, that's definitely something that's, in my opinion, very important. I always kind of tell people, you want, when you sell a home, you want it to be, you want to get rid of any type of story that a buyer can tell themselves. So if there's a dent, in the hallway or something just from whatever over the years, you don't want buyers to start really building scenarios in their head as to why that could be there. You want buyers just totally focused on enjoying being inside the home, seeing the home, and focused on seeing themselves in it, and not how you were living in it or anything like that. So again, fresh neutral paint for us in our home, it made a big difference, specifically around the front door and in the garage door areas. So if you have any questions about that, you can email us out. We'll go ahead to the next slide here. The next one is simple lighting. This is something overlooked at times. Make sure that you have similar, all the same kind of lighting in your house, not different shades, colors, things like that. Make sure that all the lights fixtures are working properly, and that every area that can have light has it, and it's working fine. In the bathrooms, of course, maybe even around the front of the house. The more light, really, the better. I think people really like that. It boosts appeal for sure, for buyers. And on top of that, I would say light fixtures is a nice upgrade to make. Whether or not it just might really help an area look a little bit more modern, and just helps it flow better, makes it look more upgraded. So really just taking the time to go through, make sure the lights, all the lights are working, for one, and then two, making sure that if you have an opportunity to upgrade potentially into different sort, a little bit of a nicer light, that's definitely helps with photos, helps with pictures, helps with, buyers, of course. So lighting is another one that's important there. Minor kitchen upgrades, simple enhancements like new cabinet hardware, fresh paint on cabinets, maybe backsplash if you want to go a little bit more on the extreme side. But yeah, maybe something as simple as new cabinet hardware really might help, go a long ways with the kitchen. Painting, obviously, the areas that we just thought of, just like painting, the doorway or throughout the house, dings and dents on the cabinets, things like that could really help, go a long ways. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to say about that. I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing a kitchen remodel. I don't think the value would necessarily return on that, but just making simple enhancements, maybe some cabinet hardware, maybe touching up in paint on areas that don't look right, especially if you have white, cabinets, making sure that those look fresh. Maybe backsplash, like we said, it could be a good upgrade. It might really enhance the rest of the kitchen. But again, you're gonna have to kind of look at how much you would spend on that, and is it really worth that? for the value. And it kind of depends on the kitchen you have. If you already have a big kitchen, if you don't, is it worth it or not? When we get into homes, every home's a little bit different. So we can definitely advise you on that, once we're inside the home. All right. Another one here that I think is important is one of the more important ones is curb appeal. Landscaping. I mean, it's one of those things, obviously the first thing that people see when they come to your home. It's one of the first things they see when they see a picture of your home. And people nowadays, 89% of buyers, they start their search online on Zillow. And, if they don't like your house, they're going to decide within maybe less than 1 second. And so, just that fresh spruce up of landscaping. Like I said before, front door is important. We painted our front door recently when we sold just a fresh coat of the original color and the trim around it. That really helped. And I would recommend having a landscaper come out and spruce up the front yard, or if you want to put bark in or things like that to really make it and enhance it and look nicer. Anything landscaping is going to go a long ways. Anything leading a buyer into the house so that by the time they get into the house, they already have formulated an opinion, about your home is key. Maybe getting some plants, when we just sold, we got 3 or 4 plants on the patio, on the front porch, that didn't cost us a whole lot, but they just added that extra layer of fresh, of nice, of color. Really, really helped warm up the area when they came in. So we just recently had one where they went in and put bark. They took a few things out, some of the clutter and some of the plants they had, trimmed the bushes, really spruced up the lawn. And it wasn't the only reason it did this, but it sold for 10, 20 grand more than list price. So I think landscaping and curb appeal is one of the more bigger ones. I would recommend doing this any home you sell, getting the landscaping, and especially in the front yard. The backyard is important too, but the front yard specifically is the most important because people make up their minds whether or not they like your house based on their first impression of it. So again, simple things there. Again, don't overdo it. I'm not saying, hey, go in and have a landscaper come in and totally redo your landscaping. Just get it back to kind of its original intent, make it look nice, clean it up, trim up, maybe put some bark in or something like that. Put some maybe some store-bought plants in on the patio, something that makes it look nice, maybe some nice lighting on the outside that you can buy at the store, nothing crazy. But, again, these things, they all help, and they show buyers that you're willing to be meticulous and you're willing to, get your home really list ready. And so they do view it differently when you do that. Okay. Of course, an easy one, bathrooms, are definitely important. Maybe a new mirror, stylish, maybe a new modern faucet or lighting, different color. Like when we went in, we painted our cabinetry a different color. And that seemed to go a long ways. We put, some nice things that we got from the store, like a mirror in there. Just doing little things to maybe just give your bathroom a little bit more warmth, and stand out from the rest. Just showing again that I think buyers love to see that you at least took the time to get your house cleaned, ready, and potentially updated a bit to make it stand out from the rest. I wouldn't say, hey, go in and do a major remodel and bring in a new bathtub or something. It's nothing necessarily like that. But if you could go in and maybe just kind of like we've been talking about with everything else, paint, maybe some modern faucets, lighting, making sure the lighting works. Again, a lot of people miss that. And update maybe a mirror or putting in just little things like that you can get from the store. So don't want to spend a lot of time on bathrooms when it comes to like little upgrades you can make and things like that, but certainly important. Again, a couple of different things here that I'm going to, go over again. We just did this. We probably spent maybe $1,000-$1,200 on our home. We paid somebody, to do some of the touch up work, the paint, kind of go around and do things that we couldn't have done that quickly, touching up drywall, things like that, touching up trim, painting some of the heavier traffic areas. And, definitely would recommend doing something like that. In my opinion, that's kind of number one. Again, I like to tell buyers or sellers that buyers don't want to go into a home and you don't want buyers going into your home and having themselves kind of try to come up with a story as to why something was like that. So, if there's a big hole in the wall, it might have just been from nothing, or maybe it was just there before, but you don't want people going, man, how did that happen? You want people going in like with a clean slate. You want them going in not cluttered in their mind too. Same thing with pets, like if you maybe doing something like a carpet cleaning, or we always pay for either a carpet cleaning or a deep cleaning for our clients before it's shown, just to make sure that anything that can be out is out of there, and it has a nice fresh feel going in to people seeing it. But kind of like, if people have pet, some sort of pet thing in a picture online, like a crate or something, who knows, they're going to formulate judgments and opinions on that before they go out and see it. You might take perfect care of your home. It doesn't smell or anything at all like animals, but if there's something like that in your photos, buyers are going to assume, oh, maybe there's a smell, or maybe there's an issue there. So that kind of leads into the bonus tip here. Declutter and stage. Decluttering is definitely more important than staging. If you can get your house as decluttered as possible, that is going to really probably provide the most amount of return on your investment. I always tell people, hey, the garage is the garage. People understand what it is. It's a 2-car or 3-car. Unless you have something crazy unique about your garage, you could put stuff in your garage. You can, take boxes, put them in there. You could take things, put them in there. You could take things while people are on showings, and you could put them in the garage, right? And then put it back in after. So that, garage isn't something that needs to be pristine unless there's something crazy unique about it. Maybe you have an RV garage, or maybe you have some sort of, I don't know, some setup in there that's a little bit more unusual that would add value. But outside of that, fill up your garage as much as possible. Try and declutter your house as much as you can. It creates a welcoming atmosphere and enhances the perceived value. Again, buyers don't like to be cluttered in their mind. And so that's a huge one. We do have, like I said, when we list homes for people, we have contractors we work with that can come in and help maybe do some of this work. We just had one where he went in, he painted the master bedroom because it needed it. There was a ton of, paint needed in that room. And there was animals in the master, took the carpet out, replaced it with new carpet, painted the entire part, mostly all the living room and the front door. It probably cost, them $1,400. We paid part of that as well as part of our marketing expense. And, they sold their house probably 10, 15 grand more than the average in the neighborhood, because of that. So, again, these things we could talk to you more about if you have interest, or if you ever want to talk about it, with us. But outside of that, again, we talked about paint, which is a huge one. Again, going in, painting, fresh coat, front door, high traveled areas. We talked about lighting upgrades. We talked about maybe some nice light fixtures. We talked about making sure all the lights match, or are working, that the home is getting the maximum lighting, and maybe the exterior lighting that might help a ton too. Lighting is good. Small kitchen improvements, nothing crazy, maybe a fresh backsplash, but just going through, maybe touching up the cabinets, paint, things like that. Maybe adding a faucet fixture, but nothing crazy. We talked about sprucing up the bathrooms a little bit, but most importantly, I would say paint, declutter, and try and stage. But decluttering, paint, getting the house ready, putting things in the garage, making sure that the house doesn't have signs of animals. These are things that are simple. Again, we also talked about curb appeal and landscaping. In my opinion, fresh paint and landscaping, those are, and decluttering, those are the big three. And so, we definitely have landscapers as well that we can connect you with if needed. And so, yeah, I mean, all of this stuff seems really simple, but again, a lot of people come to us and they think they're going to have to do this crazy remodel to their house before they sell, or we're going to have to do a bathroom remodel because our bathroom's outdated. Look, we don't want you spending more money than is going to, that's not going to come back to you in return. So I would, unless your house is just falling apart, I would avoid major remodels and go for things like curb appeal, go for things like fresh paint, go for things, like lighting, maybe some small kitchen improvements, decluttering and staging. Those things are going to make it, like we talked about, you could make 5 to 10% more on your return if you took the time to either do this or have somebody do these things. So again, don't rush into listing your home. Take a little bit of time, a week or two, to prep it, get it ready, clean up the spots that need cleaned up from just, the years of living there. And then maybe look at things like, okay, does any of our carpet need redone? Does the deck need to be replaced so that it can approve for a loan? We would help you with things like that. But again, curb appeal, decluttering, paint, things like that are going to give you the highest return. So again, it's nice to see 3 or 4 people in here. Appreciate you guys. If you have questions, please send us a message. Send us a comment on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. But we appreciate you guys being here. And other than that, that's it for today. Have a great day, guys.